Going from a tiny child from a poor family to a famous singer, Dolly Parton's story is one of the most inspiring ones because it shows that everything is possible if you work hard enough. Her impressive career is marked by significant partnerships that have contributed to her professional development. Unfortunately, Dolly developed a strong animosity for one of her fellow music icons when one of their collaborations went south, causing significant conflict. Would you want to dive further into this topic? Remember to stay with us for a while. Dolly Rebecca Parton was from a very poor household. She was born on January 19, 1946, in Locust Ridge, Tennessee, the first of 12 children. As she and her family endured life in a modest cabin nestled in the Great Smoky Mountains, they were left with nothing save the few possessions that her father had acquired from his labor as a tobacco farmer and sharecropper. The family remained tight-knit and affectionate despite all the difficulties. The strength of her familial bonds and the support of her loved ones were major factors in Dolly's artistic development, which she would later credit. From an early age on, Dolly discovered that she enjoyed music and that it was an integral part of her life. A.V. Lee, Dolly's mother, was a prolific singer of folk songs and traditional ballads, and she imparted to her daughter the love of music and storytelling that would later shape her career. She also placed a high value on her church. Due to her upbringing in the fervent gospel music of the Pentecostal faith, Dolly was inspired to pursue a career in music and had her first experiences playing in front of an audience. Dolly started honing her skills at a young age, writing songs inspired by her life events. The girl's uncle gave her her first guitar when she was 8 years old, and she trained herself to play, expressing herself via her song's melodies and lyrics. Her family's problems and her dreams for a better life were mirrored in the songs she wrote when she was very young. Her incredible voice and captivating stage presence first garnered attention when she was only 10 years old, and she went on to sing on local radio and television programs. After finishing high school, she embarked on a voyage that would lead her to Nashville, where she was prepared to dominate the country music industry. Dolly Parton stuck with her distinctive voice and appearance, believing that her efforts would be rewarded in the end, even though talent scouts first dismissed her abilities and advised her to conform to the stereotype of a normal female singer. Her talent as a songwriter was starting to be noticed by famous musicians. Therefore, that was probably where her big break would come from. Bill Owens, her uncle, was one of her co-songwriters. In 1966, it became a modest success for Bill Phillips. Soon after, Dolly was signed to Combine Publishing, an organization that helped her develop her songwriting abilities, thanks to the chances the popularity had brought her. Her insights of human nature and the hardships of daily life informed her very emotional music. Country music fans took to her songs, and she quickly gained a solid name as a composer. In 1967, Dolly was requested to join the Porter Wagoner Show, which would go on to become one of the most successful television series. This was another wonderful opportunity for her. Her charisma, skill, and commanding voice quickly won over admirers of Dolly. She became known as a rising talent in country music because to her work on the program, which exposed her to a nationwide audience. She found a confidant and a guide in Porter Wagoner, who became her mentor and with whom she worked professionally to hone her stage presence. Country radio favorites Just Someone I Used to Know and The Last Thing on My Mind were duets they recorded together, solidifying her place in the business. As a solo artist, Dolly was thriving at the same time. Dumb Blonde and Something Fishy were on her 1967 first album, Hello, I'm Dolly. Her abilities as a vocalist and composer were on full display in the record, which went on to achieve great success. It became clear that Dolly could succeed on her own when she began to shake up settings that were mostly controlled by men. Singing the song Jolene in 1973 was one of Dolly's first big hits. Her husband's interactions with a particular bank teller served as the song's inspiration. Issues of love and inadequacy were prevalent throughout. It was an immediate hit because to Dolly Parton's moving vocals and the song's eerie tune, Jolene is now one of her most famous songs. It showcased Dolly's storytelling abilities via music and simultaneously her aptitude for creating sympathetic characters that touched people all around the world. Writing "I Will Always Love You" as a goodbye to Porter Wagoner in 1973, when she was ready to embark on a solo career, was another huge step forward in her early career. It was one of her favorite songs, and she poured her soul into it. Dolly became famous with this song, which was recorded by other musicians throughout the globe, including Whitney Houston. During these formative years, Dolly laid the groundwork for the lasting impact she would have throughout her career. She overcame the challenges she faced at home, followed her passion for music, and had faith in herself to achieve her goal. She was able to forge a connection with her listeners that went much beyond her modest origins by turning her struggles into storytelling and music. The songs "Jolene" and "I Will Always Love You" were Dolly Parton's first forays into the music industry. They showcased her distinctive voice and storytelling abilities and set the stage for the phenomenal career that would go on to establish her as one of the most beloved personalities in the annals of both music and entertainment. Dolly Parton's success may be attributed to her skill, adaptability, and incredible cross-genre collaborations. Dolly Parton may be best known as a country music icon, but she has also dabbled with pop, bluegrass, and gospel, demonstrating her versatility and reaching new listeners. Dolly Parton began a legendary partnership in 1967 when she and Porter Wagoner became co-hosts of The Porter Wagoner Show. This partnership would be crucial in launching Dolly to stardom and capturing the attention of viewers throughout the country. "Daddy was an old-time preacher man, and the last thing on my mind are only two of the many duet songs that they recorded together." Dolly finally found her footing in country music because to her partnership with Porter, which garnered her recognition in Nashville. As a kind of parting song, she composed "I Will Always Love You" for Wagoner in 1974, the year she embarked on her solo career. In 1992, Whitney Houston reworked the song, creating a powerful ballad that bridged country and pop, which caused it to become a worldwide phenomenon. Dolly started to broaden her sound in the late 1970s. Her 1977 Gary Klein-produced album, Here You Come Again, was the pinnacle of her pop music transition. The title single was Dolly's first major pop success. It peaked at #3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and introduced her to a whole new demographic. Her ability to adapt and thrive in a new musical environment was on full display as she skillfully blended her country music origins with pop. In the 80s, Dolly collaborated with several of the most productive artists in the industry. "Islands in the Stream," a duet she sang with Kenny Rogers in 1983, was penned by the Bee Gees and went on to top the country and mainstream charts. It became a classic overnight because to their magnetic stage presence and the infectious melody. Rogers and Parton were one of the longest-running country duos since they kept traveling for a few more years. The 1987 album Trio, which Dolly co-wrote with Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris, fused pop with classic country and folk. The record was highly praised. The animosity that Dolly had against her fellow music legend began with their work together in Trio. That will be addressed shortly. Dolly had already shown that she was open to working with up-and-coming musicians and using new media to connect with an audience that was younger than her own. By collaborating with Miley Cyrus on the song Rainbowland, she demonstrated her willingness to embrace new sounds and connect with a younger audience. Norah Jones, Sia, and electronic dance music, EDM producer Galantis, are among her collaborators. The latter even turned her iconic single Jolene into a dance single. Thanks to her versatility and willingness to work with others, Dolly was able to connect with fans of many kinds of music. She has continued to broaden her creative horizons, including elements of country, pop, and electronic dance music, EDM, into her already legendary career. In turn, her versatility and work with a wide range of musicians demonstrate her exceptional talent for fusing musical styles while retaining her own unique sound. Dolly Parton's ascent to fame as a musician and an actress were both quite natural processes for her. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, Dolly was perfectly at home in the Hollywood industry. Dolly was fantastic. She was full of life, clever, and displayed her personality well. Her breakout role came in the 1980 comedy 9 to 5, which dealt with women's empowerment in the workplace and was a critical success. The part of Doralee Rhodes, a spunky secretary who stands up to her sexist employer, was played by Dolly alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. Dolly Parton's breakthrough role in 9 to 5 showcased her impeccable comedic timing and garnered her a Golden Globe nomination. The film's title song, which she also composed, reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and garnered her Grammy nominations. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Dolly continued her acting career with film appearances. The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, a musical comedy adapted from the Broadway production, starring her and Burt Reynolds in 1982. She ran a brothel in a tiny town and was known as Miss Mona. The job was well received, and she more than delivered. One of her soundtrack contributions, I Will Always Love You, helped propel the picture to new heights of popularity. Steel Magnolias was an ensemble drama that she was a part of in 1989, with Shirley MacLaine, Julia Roberts, and Sally Field. As the kind and clever beauty parlor owner Truvy, Dolly gave both comedic and dramatic dimension to the part. Dolly Parton did more than just perform. She also founded Dollywood, a tourist resort in nearby Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. For Dolly, from its start in 1986, Dollywood has been a unique enterprise that enables her to give back to her community while honoring her Appalachian roots. From its humble beginnings as an amusement park, Dolly evolved into a massive amusement park including rides, music, and other attractions that showcased Appalachian culture. The opening of Dollywood signaled Dolly's shift from being a popular performer to a successful entrepreneur. Her goal for Dollywood as a full-fledged family destination was realized when the park grew and ultimately incorporated Dollywood's Splash Country, an amusement park, and Dollywood's Dreammore Resort. She has used the space for her charitable endeavors, particularly her Imagination Library, which distributes free books to kids all around the world. Dolly Parton's ability to effortlessly blend her passions for music, acting, and business has never failed to wow her fans. She became an icon in the entertainment and commercial worlds, and her name became almost associated with Hollywood, thanks to the construction of Dollywood. Her influence extended well beyond the music industry. Now we may discuss the musical figure that Dolly despises and the reasons behind her hatred. Linda Ronstadt and Emmylou Harris were collaborators of Dolly Parton's. Each of the three musicians was already well established and critically acclaimed in their respective musical realms when they began working together in the mid-1970s. Linda was a major player in the rock and pop scenes. Emmylou was beloved for her more conventional country sound, and Dolly had achieved global success with her country pop crossover sound. A joint goal of the three was to create an album that would showcase their unique musical approaches. What started as a very thrilling creative concept would soon run into roadblocks that would put their friendship and working relationship to the test. The idea for the partnership came from Emmylou Harris, who had great respect for Linda and Dolly's abilities and saw right away that their combined skills would be perfect for the project. Emmylou was captivated by the concept of preserving traditional sounds and had an uncanny knack for harmonizing different instruments. An album honoring the long and storied history of country music that showcases Dolly and Linda's unique talents was her lifelong ambition. Dolly and Linda were originally very receptive to the concept, and the three musicians did start meeting together and jamming informally, discovering new melodies and rhythms. Disagreements about direction began to materialize as the trio moved from informal jam sessions to more serious recording sessions, particularly between Linda and Dolly. When performing with Dolly, she often preferred to let the music flow freely in the hopes of conveying the song's genuine passion. Contrarily, Linda's meticulousness and obsession with detail earned her a reputation for excellence. She was very particular about the quality of their recordings and would often recommend many attempts while meticulously tweaking the harmonies and arrangements. Dolly believed that Linda's obsession with perfection was limiting the organic progression of their music, and this disparity in approach led to some initial friction. She was of the belief that music was best when left unprocessed and unhurried. When Dolly and Linda couldn't resolve their differences, Emmylou stepped in to mediate. Both women's opinions mattered to Emmylou, and she worked hard to maintain harmony among the trio's musical and interpersonal dynamics. At various points, she attempted to mediate, recommending that they strike a middle ground between being completely impromptu and being too meticulous in order to appease Dolly and Linda. On occasion, Emmylou would advise them to return to the tracks at a later time, giving them plenty of time to relax and think more clearly. But they were only effective in the short term since Dolly and Linda's artistic disputes persisted throughout the recording sessions. This tension built up during the course of their debut album's production. The two most outspoken members of the group, Dolly and Linda, were also the ones who wanted to steer the project in a certain way. Linda thought Dolly was too sloppy to qualify as art, and her casual attitude clashed with her own ideal of perfection. As they started to internalize their disagreements, the tension intensified. At times, Dolly felt confined and irritated, questioning her ability to thrive in an environment that did not accept her creative process as the standard. The record, titled Trio, was finally finished by the three ladies and published in 1987. In spite of their animosity, the record was well received by critics and the public alike. The triumph of Trio therefore demonstrated the benefits of all three members working together, but it also did nothing to alleviate the friction between Dolly and Linda. Emmylou felt a mix of emotions, one of satisfaction in their accomplishments, and sadness at the fact that their relationship had been tested by the creative process. Years later, Dolly issued a public apology, explaining that she may have contributed to the escalation of tensions by her demands for artistic freedom and resistance. She appreciated Linda and Emmylou's abilities and apologized for any hurt sentiments that may have resulted. Simultaneously, there were feelings that some thought had not been adequately addressed. The event, Dolly said, had changed her forever. Even while she was pleased with their accomplishments, she still wasn't sure whether she had triumphed over the challenges they faced. Dolly seemed remorseful, but also conflicted, as if she would never fully get over the creative limitations she had experienced while recording Trio. While acknowledging that their conflicts had been both frustrating and fruitful, Dolly apologized to Linda and expressed her respect for Linda's creative abilities. Despite their past, the two ladies have talked well of one another since then and continued to appreciate one another's talents. Despite her role as mediator, Emmylou maintained strong friendships with Dolly and Linda, working with them separately while gushing about the enchantment they made together. The band reunited in the late 90s to create Trio 2, the sequel to their critically acclaimed first album. Now that they were older and wiser, they approached the project with a newfound respect for one another's creative goals. Even though the past animosity was still there, things worked out better this time, and Trio 2 was a commercial smash upon its release, solidifying their place in country music history as a beloved team. One of the finest examples of diverse viewpoints coming together is the partnership of Dolly, Linda, and Emmylou, which endures creative stress and personal problems. The cumulative effect of the work on Trio and Trio 2 was to permanently alter country music. Thank you for watching the video. That is it. Next time we'll see you.